Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week you're going to see me doing some loose watercolor landscape painting. And I just want to talk briefly about this idea of a loose painting style, specifically with watercolor and specifically for landscapes. A lot of people, when they're painting a landscape, will use photographic reference. My question would be, if that's you, if you're using photographic references and you want to paint in a loose style, why are you using photographic references? See, it makes sense to me if, let's say, you wanted to paint a portrait of a specific person, a movie star or whatever. In that case, you probably want to get a decent likeness of the person. So using a photographic reference makes complete sense. Unless you have an incredibly good visual memory, it's difficult to remember exactly what a person looks like, even if it's someone that you've seen every day of your life. So using a photographic reference does make perfect sense in that case. Because that's your goal. That's your goal in making that piece of art, is to produce an accurate likeness. Now, with landscape painting, if you're using photographic references, what is your goal? Is your goal to create a precise, accurate reproduction of that specific landscape? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If that's the case, then that makes perfect sense for using photographic references. My question would be is, what if you want to paint in a loose style? Because the loose style isn't really the best style for producing accurate reproductions. By definition, by its very nature, it is loose, it is carefree, it is taking artistic license with the subject. So do you really need a photographic reference? My answer would be no, you don't. We all know what a tree looks like. We know what clouds are. We know what landscapes look like. Use your memory, use your imagination. So why do I advise that? It's not just to be weird or different. It's because when you're looking at a photograph, the photographic camera can pick up huge amounts of detail. Even a cheap camera can record every leaf on every tree, every little bit of cloud and everything in the sky, every blade of grass. So you have huge amounts of detail. So when you come to painting that, what details are you going to include in your painting? Which ones are you going to leave out? How do you decide? How do you make that decision? With the loose painting style, you have to simplify things. You have to suggest a tree, for example, rather than having the trunk and all the bark and each leaf and every twig and every branch. You just have to sort of suggest things. You have to do it in a more impressionistic way. That's kind of how I think about the loose painting style, like Impressionism, or something approaching Impressionism. So you're suggesting things, big shapes, rather than tiny details. So if you want to paint, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to paint in a loose way, if you want to paint landscapes in a loose way, details are something to avoid. And if you're avoiding details, why do you need that photographic reference? So anyway, that's just the point I wanted to make today. If you're trying to loosen up your painting style with landscapes, and you're not trying to reproduce an exact likeness of a specific landscape, just ditch the whole photographic reference thing. In a lot of ways, it frees you up. You don't have to worry about infringing on anybody else's copyrights. You don't have to spend loads of time looking for inspiration, looking for that perfect photographic bit of inspiration. You just get a piece of paper, some paint and a brush, and you start painting. Now, it doesn't always work, but it's a lot freer, it's a lot more creative, and you're relying on your imagination, your creativity, more so than technical skills and details. Anyway, if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend it. It's not for everybody. And I think maybe what I'm also trying to say is this loose style, it's not just about how you hold the brush or the type of brush marks you make. It's much deeper than that. It's about your entire approach to making art. Why? What's your goal? Why do you make the art? I think that's the key thing with a loose style. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully see you again in next week's video.